Let me then just ask you this. Teaching. I know you know this because you saw that question too. So the question which was sent to us, there are questions that in fact we don't take teaching seriously enough. That in fact that we really are hypocritical, that we say teaching is all that important, but no one will ever become a professor, even if they're the greatest teacher in the world. And that therefore we downgrade teaching, and in addition to which we don't do enough to prevent students from being subjected to appalling teachers who do, sadly, lurk around in this university.
Even if they're not 65?
Even if they're not 65, yeah.
Well, I think firstly that we've actually made some significant progress in the last 5 years, and I'll just point to two things. One is that we've created for the first time what you might call a teaching track. So previously, if you were only a teacher that was not doing research as well, you couldn't get a permanent job in this university. Now you can. And departments are allowed to identify where they have those needs and to employ people who are excellent teachers or who are teachers and who don't aspire to do research. That was step number one. The second is that in reviewing the promotions criteria and the performance assessments, what's called standard academic, the standard annual performances of academics, it used to be the case that teaching was not a requirement, good teaching was not a requirement for promotion. It had to be adequate, but research was an absolute requirement. And so it signaled to academics all the time, only research is important. That was changed so that in all faculties now, adequate performance in teaching is a sine qua non for promotion. And
Could you become a professor because you're a great teacher?
Okay, so that we haven't got to yet, that you can become a professor without having a research.
Do you think they should be?
I personally think that they should, yes. So I will lead a discussion. I strongly suspect it will be rejected by the Senate, but I will lead a discussion that proposes that it should be possible to become a professor based on your teaching excellence. But I would say just that part of that teaching excellence requires demonstration of an ongoing curiosity, an ongoing attitude to work, and a capacity to remain up to date, to be reviewing the literature, to be innovative in your teaching itself, to ensure that your teaching is research informed, even if you're not the researcher. Now, but I think that's necessary because that's a big part of what we do, and we lose people who just dedicated to teaching.
Now, there are questions here about the fact of accountability of teaching. I mean, that people are terrible teachers, that students get subjected to them, and that we do very little about it. and I was asked to ask you that, and I am.
And again, we've improved what we can do about it. So it's hard to get rid of a tenured academic, and especially if they're doing good research. But what we now do is we have...
But they shouldn't be in the classroom.
Well, so there are two things we could do. One is we could let them off the teaching, but you can only do that if you have other people who are dedicated to teaching. So it's one step, and it's not clear to me that that's desirable, because many people would rather not do less teaching, and some of our best researchers are also, many are excellent teachers. You don't want to lose that. But that's one option, to say you're a researcher, you don't have to teach. But the more important one is for heads of departments to manage that. And our current annual performance appraisal not only can give you a merit merit allocation, or a promotion, of course, if you're really good, and you have to be good on the teaching and research, but can refuse to give you the cost of living increase if you don't meet the criteria. So there is a significant financial penalty, and part of that criteria, and also, of course, if you're still within your first 3 years, can refuse to confirm you. And there are academics who do not get confirmed because they don't teach enough.
No, the problem is the ones who have been confirmed.
Ones who have been confirmed, the mechanism at the moment is to deny them the increases that they would otherwise get, unless they're willing to get involved with academic development. We have a lot of facilities.
Now, some heads of departments say that part of the problem is that when they try to do things in order to improve, then they hit with the idea that there's academic freedom and that they cannot interfere with the members of their department, and that therefore, in a sense, it becomes a question of the slowest trip of the convoy leading the fastest trip of the convoy, rather than the other way around. And how do you respond to that? It's a serious problem.
Yeah, I think that is the nature of academic management. It's not an authoritarian management. It's not a boss who tells you what you have to do. the academic environment is collegial and it tolerates huge independence for individuals. What they want to research, what they want to teach, how they structure their curriculum.
So does
how
the head
they
of
do
the
their
department have
teaching.
to sit back and do nothing whilst his department plunges because there have been 3 or 4 unfortunate appointments made
No.
before his time
No,
or her
but
time?
I'm just saying it's difficult. The instruments that a head of department has are few, but one of them, and mostly they are through engaging, through discussing, through trying to persuade academics to become better teachers, through doing student evaluations. No academic, I think, wants to be a bad teacher, and so reflecting
But I'm
that-
interested in the principle of accountability. I mean, for example, I hear stories of people, mid-year exam, 80% of the class fails. Don't fail anything else, they fail this. But nothing happens. I mean, that's just not acceptable.
Yeah. So what we need to do better, I agree with you. I think we have a problem. It's part of what we need to tackle in improving the teaching and learning and the throughput. What I would expect is that deans review the pass rates. They pick up those courses which are sometimes called killer courses that have unusually high failure rates, and they do have to intervene.